top 8 competitor. Owen Turtenwald on your left. He's taking a yawn. It's been a long day.
Two-time Grand Prix champion in the last month.
Yeah, he makes it look easy sometimes, trust me. He's on Mono Black Devotion. Nestico on Blue-White Control. Both players sitting at 7-1, so whoever wins this match likely able to draw in next round.
Yeah, Mark Nestico is playing basically the same blue-white control deck that has been popularized recently. The 1 Elixir, 1 Elspeth, 3 Jace package, no Aetherlings. He does run a pair of Quickens, however.
Okay.
So a little bit of his own flair to it, but otherwise kind of what you'd expect out of the blue-white control deck.
All right. Other matches that are taking place, just for you guys who are wondering at home, Ben Stark is sitting at X1 as well right now. He's at table 6. He's on a non-covered feature match. Jacob Wilson sitting at X1. Christian Calcano, he is sitting at X1-1, and Chris Van Meter picked up his first loss last round. He's also sitting at X1, so a very important round for a lot of Magic players here, as we're going to see a Thoughtseize targeting Nestico. 1, 2, I think that's 3 copies of Divination.
Yeah, and it dissolves. So Nestico on a 6-card hand here, it looks like on the draw. 3 Divinations and a Dissolve. You actually could do a lot worse against Mono Black.
Yeah, I actually kind of like this hand, honestly. It kind of sucks that he doesn't have an answer to like Pack Rat, but besides that, and he can find a Verdict or a Last Breath at some point, I actually kind of like this hand.
How can you not like this hand? When you think about it, there's 9 cards in his hand.
Yeah, it doesn't even seem fair to be able to keep that many cards. Going to take a Divination Will Turtenwald as Nestico is going to play Azorius Guildgate and pass the turn back.
Yeah, he did hit his 3rd land there in the plains, so that's what he's going to need to start the divinating, and he's pretty happy to not see, you know, something like a Pack Rat or some other early threat from Owen. Does look like Owen has the Underworld connections here, though.
All right, good start for Turtenwald.
That's going to be very good. Mark's only way of getting rid of that is with a Detention Sphere. So now that it has resolved, he does have 2 Syncopates in his deck, but neither of them were there when the Underworld Connections was cast.
Divination going to resolve. Nestico going to get 2 cards deeper, so we're going to have a little bit of a card advantage war here, as Turtenwald's going to untap his 3 lands, and that connection draws a swamp for the turn. He's going to start by paying a life to draw a card, move down to 17, and draw a Thoughtseize, which is a pretty good draw right now.
Yeah, well, Thoughtseize is just so powerful right now, and I think one of the strengths of Mono Black Devotion, first of all, is that it gets to play 4 of them without hitting itself with its own lands. You know, it has great mana, so it can afford to just throw Thoughtseize whenever it draws them. And it also has a pretty good card advantage engine to go with Thoughtseize, as you see here with Underworld Connections.
So the hand here is Hallowed Fountain, Plains, Dissolve, Divination, Azorius Charm, and Sphinx's Revelation. Pretty good hand.
Yeah, and Owen will probably be deciding between the Revelation and the Dissolve, depending on what he has in his hand. He's going to go with the Revelation. That's not really a surprise. Owen doesn't need to resolve any spell in particular because he has the Underworld Connections going.
Nestico takes 2 from Mutavault and passes the turn back to Turtenwald. So we'll see Nestico draw a couple more cards here to start the show with the Divination.
Yeah, Nestico playing the full set of 4 Divinations right now. However, Owen is paying a life to basically cast a Divination every turn here. Nestico is going to need to find a Detention Sphere, or basically cast it, you know, because he can't cast a Divination every turn, whereas Owen does get the extra card every turn.
Again, Turtenwald is going to start his turn by drawing a card. And remember, Turtenwald did win a Grand Prix with this deck not so long ago in Albuquerque, as he's going to deploy Desecration Demon after drawing that card. Nestico is going to rearrange his mana, untap it. He's got the Elixir, he's got 4 lands, a couple cards, and a draw step.
Yeah, so Owen actually drew a 2nd copy of Underworld Connections, which is going to be pretty key here. What it means is that even if Nestico does draw the Detentions here for the first Connections, Owen will just replace it. We likely won't see Owen play 2 of them because of the fact that the removal spell for them is Detention Sphere. He wouldn't want to lose them both to 1 removal.
Yeah, I think it's pretty comfortable in the position he's in right now. Desecration Demon is a house against control decks, and of course, not 1 but 2 Mutavaults, also quite good against blue-white, as it does Fate Supreme Verdict and Detention Sphere.
Yeah, so if Owen swings here, he will know that he's swinging into an Azorius Charm. He very well may do it anyway, just to 1-for-1 mark, if you would.
So it looks like he's going to go reaching for Mutavaults, and he's going to start getting into the red zone here. And he's not attacking with Desecration Demon.
So he doesn't want to have to recast the demon.
So Azorius Charm is going to put Mutavault back on top. Turtenwald's going to draw a card. He's actually going to draw that Mutavault. Probably going to put it right back into play. Put himself in the same situation he was in last turn. Pretty crafty play there by Turtenwald.
Yeah, he aware that the Azorius Charm was in Mark's hand. He intentionally did not make the land drop, so that once that Mutavault was put back on his top of his deck, he could draw it and replay it.
Nestico going to activate the Elixir, move himself up to 21 here. Going to shuffle back in 3 Divinations and Azorius Charm and that Elixir. So kind of like that here. And of course, Turtenwald knows that Nestico has a Dissolve in his hand, so he doesn't really want to play a spell either. You know, he doesn't want to get his Desecration Demon put back on top, and if he plays a spell, it's likely going to be countered.
Yeah, so I mean, in Owen's situation, there aren't too many spells which he has to resolve here just because he has this sheer volume of cards. But that said, when he does go for a spell like Desecration Demon, he probably doesn't want the tempo loss of getting it dissolved.
3 mana, so it's going to be time for a divination. So time to draw 2. Hit 1 and 2. Follow that up with an island.
There could be another divination.
Yeah.
Nope. All right, he's going to leave the dissolve mana up. And Owen with... Yeah, what... I believe, yeah, one of his main deck Farika's cures.
And he does have 2 of those in his main deck and 2 in the sideboard. So hedging a little bit, excuse me, against aggressive strategies this weekend.
All right, we'll see his play. It looks like he's still... Okay, now he's going to swing the Desecration Demon, now that he is not sure whether or not Mark has an Azorius Charm. And it does appear that Mark doesn't have much of anything. He's going to take 10. Drop to a low 11 life.
Yeah, the answer is resounding no. On the does he have an answer for Desecration Demon? So Nestico's going to draw a card here. He draws an Azorius Charm now, I believe. But he's having some real trouble against these Mutavaults, and you can see exactly the reason why Mutavault is such a good card. Perfect in a monocolored deck. Even the 2-color decks are able to make it work. As Turtenwald's going to untap and take a draw step here. Draws another Hero's Downfall. Got a lot of spells in his hand. Does have his draw engine online with connections. He's just going to do the same thing he did last turn. Attack you for 10.
Yeah, Mutavaults are really letting him sneak under the counter magic that Nestico has right now. You're right, it's absolutely powerful. Owen's become the control deck here. All he really cares about also is just making land drops.
He does play a Swamp. He's going to pass the turn back to Nestico, who is going to Revelation for 3. Going to push his life total up to 7 and draw 3 new ones.
All right, so a draw here, and yeah, that Revelation actually, I believe, sent him from 1 to 4. He's gonna need, he's gonna need more life points here if he wants to survive the Desecration Demon.
Surprised he just had. I mean, even if he has a Azorius Charm for the Demon, then the 2 Mutavaults will be lethal. Supreme Verdict here is okay, but I mean, obviously the big problem card here is, as you see him resolve a divination, is the Mutavault.
Yeah, the Mutavault's gonna be really hard for Nestico to deal with. The original problem card here was the Underworld connections, and now it's caused so many more problems. You're right, the Mutavaults are so hard for him to deal with. You know, he's spacing down 10 damage. He's going to have to be able to answer 2 of these attackers. With only 4 mana up, he's going to basically need 2 Azorius Charms to do that.
There's a Hallowed Fountain. That's going to go down to 2.
All right. Well, there's a possible line. What he has here is he does have those main deck Quickens. It could be he's playing to Quicken Supreme Verdict.
Yep. See if Turtenwald's going to run into that. The problem here is that Turtenwald, you know, how many creatures does he actually have to attack with? I think he just threw a Thoughtseize too.
And now he knows the trick.
That's really going to blow that up.
You might scoop here.
Yep.
And
that's
he
exactly
does not want to
do.
show that there's Quickens in his deck. Now the question is, do you think Owen has the read that, the 5th land mana untapped to shock? Can you, how pro is our pro? Can you read that that must be Quicken Supreme Verdict?
For Turtenwald, I think he can really figure that out pretty easily, especially because Jensen had access to them in his deck in Dallas.
Okay.
You know, it's something that it's kind of a play that people can make now. He can certainly put his opponent on a range of outs, right? He can say, okay, maybe it's 2 copies of Azorius Charm, he's still dead. So what exactly could he have? Quicken Supreme Verdict is one of the few ways he can actually get himself out of this situation, and a 3rd Thoughtseize will make sure that that doesn't happen. So Turtenwald is going to win game number 1 here over Mark Nestico. We'll look at the sideboards here, and we'll start with the blue-white control player.
All right, so in the blue-white control deck, we really saw that Underworld Connections was a big problem for Mark here. So one of the things that we'll see used against it, he has 2 negates, he has a Ratchet Bomb, he has a Pithing Needle. We should expect all of those to come in this matchup. Not only are they good against Underworld Connections, but they have a lot of applications against the other cards that Owen's trying to play. You know, Mark wouldn't mind needling if he needs to Mutavaults. He wouldn't mind negating a card like Hero's Downfall if it were to target one of his Planeswalkers. There are a couple other things he can do too. Mark just wants to, he can really approach this like a control matchup if he needs to. He can play Jace Memory Adept possibly. Also, there are some cards in his main deck that could be better. I think, for example, I'm not a huge fan of Azorius Charm in this matchup. So it depends on how many cards he wants to side out. That'll affect how many he brings in here.
As far as on Turtenwald's side here, up a game, he's got 4 copies of Duress to bring in, so he's got a ton of discard now after sideboard. 3 copies of Lifebane Zombie, which is just basically a 3/1 unblockable creature in this matchup, so not sure if he's going to bring that in or not. 2 additional copies of Farika's Cure, 3 copies of Dark Betrayal, and 3 copies of Erebos, God of the Dead. A little unusual to see that many throughout the 75 of a mono black deck, but that's going to provide him with, you know, a drawing card engine. Overload those attention spheres. Doesn't really care that his life total gets too low. And you know, it can't get turned on, and you can't ignore the fact that it will make those Sphinx of Revelation for Nestico just be kind of mediocre draw spells.
Yeah, they won't gain life. And I think you're absolutely right. The Duresses and the Ereboses come in, and probably the Lifebane Zombies. There's a lot of cards that he would not really want in this matchup. For example, say Pack Rat. He doesn't really want to discard cards to Pack Rat right now, or in this matchup. So we'll see those get board out. He has Farika's Cures to board out as well, and he has Devour Fleshes. So he has 10 full cards that he just doesn't like in this matchup. So I think because of that, we can use those 10 cards out of the board. The Duresses, the Lifebane Zombies, and the Ereboses, that can all be boarded in.
All right, if you guys are just joining us, Cedric Phillips, Matthias Hunt, Star City Games Open Series here in Las Vegas. Again, our top 8 of the Invitational is determined. Now we're looking to make our way to the top 8 of our Standard Open, where we've got around 500 players, 10 rounds of standard action this weekend. We'll do our quarterfinals, our semifinals, and our finals tomorrow. We call it Top 8 Weekend tomorrow, or Top 8 Sunday, excuse me, because tomorrow we'll do our Standard Open. That'll launch us on the day. Then we'll come back with our Invitational Top 8, and then we'll cut into our Legacy Open, cover those couple of rounds that are left in the Swiss, and then do our Legacy Open Top 8. So, going to be an absolute blast tomorrow as we do crown 3 champions and give away a boatload of premium.
Yeah, and a little bit of a difference is that in Standard, the entire Top 8 is played tomorrow. Is that correct?
That's correct. Normally we do a quarterfinals at night and then do the semifinals and the finals in the morning, but we're going to let these guys get out of here early. It is Vegas after all, and they can enjoy the evening, get some sleep, and then come back tomorrow morning. We'll do again our quarterfinals, our semifinals, and our finals tomorrow. Crown that first of 3 champions. It's going to be a good day tomorrow, but we've got more work to do this evening as Mark Nestico is going to take a look at his 7 cards. Turtenwald will do the same. And see if Nestico is happy with his 7-card hand from blue-white. Doesn't look thrilled. He's going to send it back.
Yeah. Owen's deck becomes so interesting post-board here. It's all discard spells and draw spells, which is really kind of both decks become on similar plans. They just both try to draw cards in 1-for-1. The advantage is that Mark's slightly better at drawing cards, whereas the discard spells are very strong on Owen's side.
Yeah, I mean, Turtenwald loads up on discard after sideboard. I think it's going to be really, really hard for Mark. And, like, you know, Mark is like this all-spell deck after sideboard, and he's got to contend with 4 Thoughtseize, 4 Duress. And while Lifebane Zombie, again, is not going to hit anything, the fact that it can just give Turtenwald information about how he wants to progress the game is huge.
Yeah. Turtenwald will basically know Mark's hand throughout the game. With 11 different ways to see Mark's hand, he'll be able to sculpt his game plan very nicely.
Yeah. So you see Turtenwald happy with the 7 cards. I wouldn't be surprised to see the first turn of this game lead off with a discard spell. But we'll see how it ends up going here. As Nestico, again, taking a mulligan. He started with 6 cards in the last game. He'll be beginning this one with at least 6. Maybe less.
All right, and we will see here in a sec.
Really, I think a really, really tough matchup for blue-white.
Is the mono-black deck?
Yeah, I think this take on mono-black with all these copies of Erebos, 8 discard spells. I mean, it just seems like his deck is incredibly focused, and it just seems like it's going to be a tough matchup as Nestico is going to play a Hollow Fountain and pass the turn back.
All right, so Hollow Fountain for Nestico. And now we're going to get to see Duress from Owen. Yeah. So we see what Nestico's kept. He kept a 2-land hand that can be very dangerous in this matchup. It is Sphinx's Revelation, Supreme Verdict, Detention Sphere, Dissolve, and a land. I have to think that Owen is going to go ahead. Well, he can either take the Dissolve if he has another discard spell, or he's going to take the Sphinx's Revelation if he doesn't.
Yeah, I think as he's going to take Detention Sphere here. I mean, the thing here for Nestico is he needs to draw lands. I mean, by taking that Detention Sphere, it's pretty loud. You know,
he's got an Erebos or Connections, yeah.
And he just drew Connections for the turn. Going to pass the turn back. So no Pack Rat here on turn 2 for Turtenwald. Nestico's just going to pass.
Yeah, he took that to kind of dare Nestico to hit his 3rd land, and Nestico didn't. The question now is whether or not Owen wants to immediately Connections or whether he wants to Thoughtseize first.
He's actually going to get down Lifebane Zombie right now. He's going to get to see the grip again. There's a Last Breath, Supreme Verdict, Dissolve, double Supreme Verdict. and the Revelation. So again, not much going on here for Nestico. He's stuck on lands, has to pass the turn back. So now Turtenwald's able to get the clock online, and he can put connections on a land and pass the turn.
Yeah, Supreme Verdict actually gets a little bit weaker in this matchup just because Owen's not a particularly aggressive deck. The cards that matter, are cards like this Underworld Connections.
And so now Nestico's being attacked from two different angles. One, there's the creature angle, but two, there's Underworld Connections trying to keep up on cards angle, which Nestico's not going to be able to do very quickly, as Turtenwald's going to activate connections, go down to 19, untap all of his permanents. He's drawn a Duress. We know he has a Thoughtseize in his hand, can fire up a Mutavault if he wants. He's got a lot of options this turn.
Right, and we'll go ahead and see here the swing for 3. And he has the connections engine going in, which is really just going to make life very difficult for Nestico. And he has now Erebos to supplement Underworld Connections.
Yeah, and Erebos is online right now. Devotion check, 2 from the zombie, 2 from the connections, and 1 from Erebos itself. So now the God of the Dead is online. Now things get really tough for Mark, because now he has to tap out for a Divination.
Yeah, so he's going to take at least 5 damage. He's going to take at least 5 damage off this Erebos. Remember, Erebos, when it turns online, is a 5/7. So it's not shabby at all as far as how much damage it does. Between the Lightbane Zombie and the Erebos, that's going to be 8 damage to Mark. It'll put him down to 6, and thanks to Erebos, Mark can't actually gain life.
And now Turtenwald's going to start picking apart his hand, where you can see, hey, you've got 2 Supreme Verdict, you got a Last Breath that doesn't do anything, you can't afford to dissolve or Divination anything, and that Revelation is pretty much blank right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great situation when you duress your opponent, see 7 cards, and realize that you find your opponent keeping all 7.
Yeah, you wouldn't really mind if he kept all 7 of those cards, because he can play around Supreme Verdict accordingly. There's a Mutavault. They're going to fire up this Mutavault attack for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nestico's going to go down to 4. Turtenwald probably going to cast the Thoughtseize here as well.
Yeah, Owen took the Last Breath just because in the abstract it is the best card to take. That's because it can answer Mutavaults, which one marks at 4 with an Erebos in play or a really potent weapon.
Yep.
And that will be the match, though.
Yeah, Turtenwald does win this match 2-0 in very, very impressive fashion. Doesn't surprise you at all that he did win a Grand Prix with this deck after watching him play. Nestico picks up his second loss